Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and welcome to another real estate video. Today I'm going to talk about the best way to sell a house for the most money. So I had a great question about if I had any videos on how to price houses. And I thought about it. I've done a lot of videos on my flips on how we price them, talking about a little bit, but I haven't really gone through the details on how we sell a house. So this video, I'm going to try and put a bunch of great information together on using agents or not, using the MLS, how to price a house, what condition a house should be in, disclosing things when you're selling a house, how to negotiate offers, all kinds of great stuff on the best way to sell a house. So we did 26 flips last year, 26 the year before that. I own my own brokerage, so we deal with selling houses all the time. I used to be an REO broker selling 200 houses a year for banks and HUD, and they had very strict guidelines on how they sell houses as well. So all of that I'm going to bring together and kind of give you an idea of how we have created our strategies to sell our houses. So let's get started right now. Okay, so I'm going to start off with whether you should use an agent or not. I'm on Zillow right now in Greeley, Colorado, where I live, do business. You can see there's a whole lot of listings here listed by agents, and you can kind of come up here and see the houses for sale. By agent, 263. New construction, 118, zero foreclosures. That's how it is in this market. Let me get rid of all those for rent. There are 4 houses for sale by owner in our entire area. And you can see them right here, 325, 292, 248. This one is a mobile home with lot rent. So you're only buying the mobile home, not the land. So I don't really count that one. But as you can see, very few people choose to sell their house for sale by owner. And there's a number of reasons for that. One, it's a lot of work. They'll have to market it, take pictures, set up showings, review contracts, figure out a way to write a contract, negotiate inspection terms, price terms, closing terms, find a title company. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And on top of that, if you're selling your house for sale by owner, you're most likely paying another agent to represent the buyer. So you aren't really saving as much money as you might think. Now, every real estate agent commission is negotiable. There's no set commission. However, HUD, a government agency, pays their agents 3% to list the house, 3% to sell the house. So I use that example for numbers just purely as an example, not because that's set commissions. So you might save, say, 3% by not using an agent on your side, or even less because some agents will negotiate with you. But you're still paying maybe 3% or a different amount to another agent to represent the buyer. Because I would say 90 to 95% of buyers are going to be represented by an agent because it costs them no money, because the seller typically pays for that agent. So if you're not willing to pay for an agent for the buyer, you're wiping out 90% of the buyers. You're going to sell your house for probably 20% less than what you would listing it with an agent, and you just cost yourself way more money than if you would use an agent in the first place. If you are willing to pay an agent, you're not really saving that much money because you're paying the buyer's agent. Now, the buyer has their own agent who's experienced in negotiating, inspections, appraisals, title companies, lenders, what's typically paid in an area, and you are not. You might have some idea of how it all works, but that buyer has an advantage, and you're still paying for their advantage yourself. So usually it makes much more sense to use an agent than not to use an agent. And you can see here, this house, I've talked to this person before because as an investor, I look for sale by owner houses all the time because I get really good deals on them because most buyers don't see them. I look on Zillow, I look on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, for sale by owner signs in the yard. And I get excited when I see for sale by owners because I know there's an opportunity for me to buy a house really cheap. And this house right here listed for $200,000. It's one of the cheapest houses in the town. It's on a really busy street. That's one reason it hasn't sold. But if that was listed on the MLS with an agent, I bet you it would have sold by now for more money than that. Just because more buyers would see it, agents would see it, it'd have more exposure, it would have sold. And that's what happens over and over and over again with for sale by owner signs. Real estate agents don't see them because they're not on the MLS, a multiple listing service where houses are listed by agents for other agents to see. And really their buyer has to find it on their own. And then a lot of times buyers don't want to mess with for sale by owners unless their agent can be used. So you're really just costing yourself money by not using an agent, and you're doing all the work yourself as well. And that's why agents are still around, why they can charge a lot, because in the end, people make more money using agents than not using agents. All right, I'm still on Zillow, but we're going to talk about pricing homes now. I'm going to show you a few examples here. But of course, make sure you check out investormore.com. I have much more information on this. I have a lot more videos that go into more detail on all these subjects as well, like the video on why you should always use a real estate agent. I have much more information on that I can link to in the description below, so check that out. Now, Zillow gives you pricing for homes. A lot of people look at Zillow and say, oh, my house is worth that. And they don't think about any other options. But the truth is Zillow can be perfect. They can be 100% right, or they could be 20% off. And pricing a home is one of the most important things you can do when you sell your house. If you price a house too high, it's going to sit on the market. People aren't even going to look at it. Contrary to popular belief, people aren't going to go look at your house and make a low offer. They just won't look at it usually if it's priced too high. And then once it sits on the market, even if you lower the price, people will say, hey, this house has been on the market for 2 months. What's wrong with it? And they won't go see it because they figure something's wrong with it. And almost always, if you price a house too high, it will sell for less than if you had priced it right to begin with. It's very important to price a house right to start with. Now, if you price a house too low, people say, oh, well, we'll get multiple offers. You know, the price will get bumped up. We'll sell it where it would have been anyway, so it doesn't matter if we price it low. Again, that's not always true. People see a low price, and sometimes it's investors who are swarming to make an even lower price, or, you know, they're not going to raise their offer. They want a good deal. And if you get multiple offers, a lot of times the buyers don't want to compete. It's silly. It doesn't make sense to me. But a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to get a bidding war. I don't want to compete. I'm not even going to make an offer on that house if they have multiple bids. So that's another reason not to price your home too low, because you might actually be chasing off some buyers if you get a bunch of offers come in. And in the end, most people look at the list price and they'll base their offer off of that list price. So they probably would have paid more if you'd priced it right, priced it a little higher where market, value is, than if you price it really low and hope they'll raise their offer up to market value. And finally, appraisers will see that huge value bump from the list price to what the contract price is and wonder if something fishy is going on. There's just more opportunity for an appraiser to come in low on the value if you price it too low and there's a big jump in the contract price over list price. Appraisals are a whole nother issue that we have to deal with that I'll talk about a little bit later. But pricing a home right is one of the best things you can do. Pricing it wrong can easily cost you 5-10% of the list of the price, which right there pays for your agent. Just huge thing to pay attention to. And what we're looking at right now, if you're wondering, is the very first house I ever bought. I bought it for $190, I think, in 2003. And Z estimate says it's worth $371,000. This, I just randomly picked this house to see what it says worth, is probably $50,000 or $60,000 too high. No way this house is worth that much. And Z estimate does this a lot, where some will be perfect and some will just be way off. So it's one of those things where, yeah, hopefully it's right. But if it's not right, how much money is that costing you? So we'll see. Oh, no, and my internet just went down. Okay. Pause the video. Okay, so you can see that house really overpriced. And I'm not going to show you all the comps and prove to you this overpriced, but I've been a broker agent for 17 years now, sold thousands of houses. It's the one thing I really know how to do well is price houses. I can tell you that one is really overpriced. And we can kind of show you this one too. Going back to the for sale by owner one over here. For sale for $200,000. Z estimate is $237,000. It's been for sale for 62 days. So either one, the for sale by owner tactic is not working, or two, the Z estimate is off again. And I would say it's a combination of both. I don't think there's any way that's worth $237 because Zillow can't tell things like busy roads, railroad tracks behind a house, the condition of a house. It just doesn't know all those things. And that's why you need to be able to market a house to find the price, not market it, but find the price either with an agent or on your own. And that's what agents are really good at, is pricing homes. So here's another one that is just came for sale, $130,000. And if you guys want to go out there and buy that one, you are welcome to do it. It's very, 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 very cheap, but it's a mess. Z estimate 185. Now, if this was fixed up, it's probably worth 205, 210, maybe 205 at the most, probably. It's very small. It's only 549 square feet. And you can see the pictures here. It's, that's a good one. Yep. Really, it just needs gutted, the whole thing, basically. And Zillow can't tell things like that. It can't tell how nice a house is or how bad a house is. And that's why you have to value the house, or your agent has to value the house correctly. And that's one of the things a really good agent will do, is help you value a house. So how do you know if you have a good agent? How can you tell if they're doing a good job? All right, we're going to go through how to tell if your agent's doing a good job real quick here. But how do you find an agent? That's something else to consider. Now, I'm not going to go through all the different ways to find an agent. A lot of people are very smart, intelligent. There's Zillow, there's friends, there's family, there's open houses, there's online marketing, all kinds of ways to find a good agent. But I want to touch on a few things real quick. One, this may not go over very well with a lot of other agents, but just because you have a friend or family member who is an agent, it doesn't mean you have to use them, okay? It is their job to be really good at their job. In that case, go for it. Use them, just do it. But if they're a part-time agent, they don't really know what they're doing, they kind of dabble in it, is that someone you want selling your house? If they don't know what they're doing, if they are extremely new, they don't have any support to help them out, do you want them selling something where it could cost you tens of thousands of dollars if they make a mistake? Now again, might not be very popular with a lot of people who feel that, every friend and family member of an agent should use them, but if that agent is not good at their job, that's their fault. That's not your fault. So make sure the agent you're using is good at their job. And if you do happen to have a friend or family member who's an agent and you use someone else, don't use someone else and then call your friend all the time for tips or pointers or ask them if your agent's doing a good job. That's just rubbing salt in the wound. So don't do that. But that doesn't mean you have to use them. If they're good, if they're great at the job, go for it. Use them. But it can also cause some rifts, some problems if you use a friend or family member and things don't go well. And of course, you want to start with Blue Steel Real Estate for all your real estate agent needs. Okay, now that you've chosen your real estate agent, they've come to your house, they've decided to list it, how do you tell if they're actually doing a good job, doing what they're supposed to be doing? It's not always easy, but there's some things you can do. First off, you want them to be able to communicate well, respond quickly, answer your questions. Hopefully they're taking really good pictures, giving you pointers on what kind of things to do as far as decluttering, things like that. But after they get your house listed, ask to see the MLS sheet. You want to see if they're doing kind of what they're supposed to be doing. Now, a lot of people think agents are bad or horrible. There's only a few good ones. That's not really true. I just went through our MLS in Greeley, and I had to get to number 87 to find one that wasn't done very well. The first 86 were done pretty well, so that's saying a lot right there. Now, this one, why I don't like this one is for a few reasons. One, the picture has a date stamp on it. There's no reason you should have date stamps on your pictures in today's world. It used to be that banks and foreclosures had date stamps on them because the banks and foreclosures required the listing agents to have date stamps when they submitted them. However, you still weren't supposed to have date stamps on the actual listing pictures because that screamed, hey, I'm a foreclosure, you can get a good deal on me. So date stamps are bad. Your pictures should not have date stamps on them. Price, all that stuff, we're not going to talk about. But there's something else to see here. 7 pictures. That's okay. But every other house I looked at before this had more pictures. Most of them have 20 to 30. And you want as many pictures as you possibly can have. As you can see, I don't know if these are really old pictures or just really poor quality. Not amazing. And it's a country property with 3 acres, 3 bedrooms, so you definitely could have a lot more pictures than that. And something else, one of my biggest pet peeves, is some agents, when they first list a property, they won't have any pictures at all for a couple days because they're waiting to get professional pictures or, they don't have them. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes you can have. Even if you just have, 7 pictures like this, but you're saying more pictures coming soon, you need some pictures on here to show people what the house is. If there's no pictures, it makes me think there's something wrong with it. The agent's bad. I will gloss over it sometimes, and I know other agents do too, unless it's just an amazing price. And most people don't want to sell their house for an amazing price for the buyer. They want the most money they can get. Something else, looking at this, which is not amazing, comments. This shows the listing comments that show up on public sites like Zillow, ColoradoProperty.com, Trulia, and the broker remarks, which are remarks for brokers to see on the MLS system. Nothing, no comments. You have to have comments on here. It takes like 5 minutes to write out comments for an agent. If there's no comments, huge red flag. That automatically makes me think the agent is lazy. I don't know. You've got to have comments on there. So those are a few things to look at. Sometimes you'll see new properties come on without any comments either. And they'll say, oh, we'll get it on later today. You want them on there as soon as the house is listed, because your most activity, the most people who see those new listings are going to be in the first day or two, because that's when it pops up on a hot sheet, which is, the new listings that have popped up in the last day, couple hours, whatever it is. You want those comments. You want those pictures on there as soon as possible. You want to be as descriptive as possible. And something else that you want too is you don't want these comments to say, this house needs TLC, sold as is, quick closing. Those are the things I look for as a buyer to get a really good deal. You don't want those things on your listing as a seller unless you want it sold and you don't care about price. And your agent should ask you permission to put those kind of things on there too. But I try to say nothing negative about a house in the comments. List the positives, what it's got going for it. And the banks and HUD would tell me the same thing too when I listed their properties. Do not put negative comments in here. You would get fired from HUD if you put negative comments like, oh, needs TLC, or, there's holes in the walls everywhere. If you say, yes, you're being honest, but you're also not marketing the property as well as you could. So something to consider. Pictures as well should be professional, should try to make the house look as nice as you can. Go the extra step. Make sure your agent's going the extra step to list the house and sell it the right way. There should not be cars in the pictures. There should not be door frames that show you took the picture from your car, because you would not get out of the car. And I've seen them where there's reflections in the windows of the car because the people not only would not get out of their car, they did not roll down their window to take a picture out of the car. I want to touch on this real briefly here. What condition should the house be in when you sell it? Now, we do a lot of flips. I have rentals, sell the properties for other people. If you can make your house nice before you sell it, it almost always pays off in a higher list price, more money than what you spent to make it nice. Not super nice, not crazy nice, just nice. That means new paint, new carpet, new appliances, new fixtures do wonders for a house. Doesn't have to be perfect, but the main things you really want to do are it smells nice, it looks nice, it's clean, and you want it to be able to go FHA as well. FHA is, Federal Housing Authority, loans for owner-occupant buyers, and most conventional loans use those same guidelines, VA, USDA. If you want your house to appeal to the most people, you want to be able to qualify for those loans. And that means the roof has to be good, the plumbing is decent, the electrical is decent, there's no holes in the walls, there's no peeling paint. You can't have peeling paint on the inside or the outside, no holes in the floors. There's a number of things that the house must meet, minimum guidelines to go there. So you at least need to do those things. If you can't do those things, it's going to sell for 10 to 20% less than market value, even if it needs no other work except has a bad roof, because you're eliminating so many buyers. Ironically, the house can have no carpet but have plywood and go FHA. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but still you want to make it nice as you can. This is one of our listings here, and we redo our flips. Not everybody will be able to make a house perfect when they buy it. We redid this kitchen, but the more you can do, usually the better, as long as you're not improving it for the neighborhood and you're not spending a ton of money doing it. And something else you guys always notice in all of my houses, we don't put fridges in a lot of them because we don't have to in our market. 90% of the buyers have their own fridge or expect to have to buy a fridge. So sometimes we have to put one in after it's listed, but we don't have to on most houses, which means we're saving $1,000, $1,500 on every single house we sell. So that's one thing about knowing your market, knowing what you have to do in your market, in that neighborhood to get the highest price, because it varies from state to state, town to town, even neighborhood to neighborhood, how nice the house has to be, how much money you should spend on it to get it to sell for the most money. So try and at least make it qualify for financing. If you can spruce it up a little more, make it a little nicer, that always helps. But again, if you're spending way too much money on $50,000 kitchens and $15,000 bathrooms, you might not get that money back either. So you've got to have the affordable, smart remodel. All right, what we're looking at now is the contract for Colorado. I want to show this to you, but first, let's say you got the house listed, it's ready to go. Of course, an agent can help you out with all of this stuff if it seems overwhelming, how to set up showings, things like that. And when we price a house, we don't price it at the absolute most we think we can get. We try to price it a little lower so that it sells quickly. Just like when we rent houses, we don't try to rent them for the absolute most we think we can get. We try to price them a little bit lower so that we have our pick of great tenants. And when we sell a house, we would rather sell it in, a week or two for a slightly lower price than have it sit on the market for 3 or 4 months, hoping to get that higher price that we might actually get, as we mentioned earlier, because it's priced too high, then we have to lower the price, and it's just a pain. So definitely want to do that. But you've got the house on the market, you're having these showings, then all of a sudden you get an offer. If you're doing this all yourself, you're going to have to figure out how to write a contract, or the buyers will. But most likely the buyers will have their own agents, so you'll be paying them. But anyway, if you have your agent, you'll get a contract that looks something like this. It's all blank. But it's not an easy thing to understand how these contracts work, as they're different in every state. This is Colorado. And as you can see, they're not exactly short. There's not a lack of information in them. They keep going and going and going and going. And there's a lot of information here about inspections, about appraisals, about loans, about price, about dates, all kinds of things that if you don't know what you're doing are extremely hard to figure out. And this is one reason why agents come in and can be so valuable, because they can help you understand it. If you don't have an agent working for you, it's very easy to not know what you're agreeing to, not know what's going on, and cost yourself a lot of money. As you can see, I have to keep just talking for a very long period of time because this contract's so long. Additional provisions is where you can add even more stuff that's not in the contract. So as you can see, they're very long, and they just go on forever. And this is just the contract. This isn't everything. Okay, so that was just the contract. There's addendums, lead-based paint, source of water, property disclosure, all kinds of other stuff that might need to be included with this contract. Counter proposals, terminations, earnest money agreements, so much stuff going on. That's why I would use an agent if I wasn't an agent, because I don't want to do all this stuff on my own. And these are all the forms that I have access to because I'm an agent. If you're not an agent, you don't have access to all this stuff. So it's crazy. Something else to think about if you're selling that I want to mention is disclosures. So a lot of people, there's something called, let's see here, property disclosure. And there it is, seller's property disclosure right there. A lot of investors, a lot of people who own properties but don't live there, think they don't have to disclose anything in a property. So this is a property disclosure. We highly suggest everybody fill this out, but you don't have to in Colorado. But some people will just cross through everything and say, didn't live there. That doesn't change the fact if you know things about the house, right? Just because you didn't live there doesn't mean that you're automatically, excused from all knowledge about the property. If you know there's a foundation issue and you don't disclose it, you can be held liable if it causes damage later on and the buyers found out you knew about it. If there was a fire that you know about that you tried to hide, you can be held liable for that, right? Material facts have to be disclosed when you sell the property. And I always fill out one of these. Even though I don't live in properties, even though I never lived in them, I still fill out what I know about the property, what we did that was new on the property, to give as much information as I can just to show people I'm being honest. And yes, if they would come back to me and say, hey, I told you everything I knew about the property in this disclosure, there shouldn't be a problem. Whereas if you're not doing this disclosure, or you're simply saying, well, I didn't live there, so I don't have to fill it out, you're opening yourself up to liability and other issues, because you're kind of saying, well, maybe I did know, I was just pretending I didn't have to know because I didn't live there. So just because you don't live there does not excuse you from disclosing facts that you know about the property. All right, so you're almost to the end. This is about all I want to talk about, except for a few more things, which are inspections. So once you get the house under contract, let's say you get that contract, you negotiate, it's accepted, the buyer has a certain amount of time to inspect the house, see if they want anything fixed or terminated. That can vary in different states, how those are all handled. In Colorado, buyer can basically terminate for any reason within their inspection period, get their earnest money back. Now, in other states, it's a little different. They also do an appraisal. If they're getting a loan, appraiser goes through, make sure the house is worth what the buyers want to buy it for. If that doesn't come in high enough, it can cause problems, cause the contract to terminate, or the seller might have to lower their price. But there's things you can do to help with the appraisal and the inspection. I always tell every seller, be prepared to do inspection items. On our flips that we're completely remodeling most of the house on, we still have inspection items on almost every single house, just because I feel like some agents, buyers, inspectors need to have something asked for on the inspection. Same thing for appraisals. We can have those come in low all the time, even on houses where it just doesn't make sense. But there are things you can do. You can send comps, a list of repairs, things like that to the appraiser beforehand, and you can actually challenge that appraisal if it comes in low, if you know how to do that. Again, I have more videos on appraisals as well, so I'll link to those. But it's a big process to sell a house. It's not something that can easily be done on your own. And even with an agent, you want to make sure you're using a really good agent who has experience, knows what they're doing. Now, they don't have to have a ton of experience, but if they're newer, maybe they have a team, a really good broker, someone helping them out or mentoring them who you can help you feel more confident about them as well. But if you've got a part-time agent who's just sort of doing real estate on their own, has another job, be wary, be careful. Not saying all of them are bad, but make sure the person who's selling your most valuable asset knows what they're doing. So the process is pretty long, but price it right, use an agent, make sure that agent does a good job, and be prepared for inspection items, for appraisal items, for hiccups along the way. Nothing usually goes perfectly. A house might come back on the market. You have to start everything over again, which can be frustrating, but you need to be prepared for that. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it helped teach you a little bit about our process, how we do things. If you have any questions, leave them below. Any comments, please leave them. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. We always appreciate that. And I've got more information on my blog, investformore.com. And we are doing a lot of posting on Instagram, Facebook, so just check out Invest for More on there as well. All right, thanks for watching. We'll have more videos soon.